Okay, good evening everyone. Today we will rationalize or answer the practice exam that I have given you. Okay, class, I like this format a lot because it reminds me of my review times, no? Katong ka-review pa ko para sa board exam. Now, class, okay, let us go. What is the function of your atrium? Now, class, if you remember, class, the atrium acts as reservoirs for blood collection, otherwise known as our receiving chambers. Di ba? While our pumps are our ventricles. Di ba? Ventricles. Whereas, ang katong mga, it separates the chambers into left and right. We call those our septum. Specifically, in the heart, our atrioventricular septum. Okay? The right ventricle receives blood from the blank. Now, class, it cannot be the vena cavas because the vena cavas will drain into your right atrium. Whereas your pulmonary veins, it will drain in your left atrium. Your pulmonary artery, class, will not drain into anywhere. It will send blood to your lungs. Okay? But, class, your right atrium, it will drain towards your right ventricle. It looks like this, mga good class. If you remember, this is the heart, okay? Muna siyang heart, ha? Okay ka na. This is your right atrium. Kini left atrium. Kini right ventricle. Kini kay left ventricle. It is mirrored. Mirrored, class siya. Kabantay mo, class. The left atrium is at the right side of this picture because we are using the anatomical point of view, di ba? It is like our heart is facing us. Okay? So, di ba, class? Our atria, it will drain towards our ventricles. Okay? So, class, our unoxygenated blood from the right atrium will go towards your right ventricle. So, therefore, it means the right ventricle will receive blood gikan sa right atrium. Okay, next, the pericardium is considered a serous membrane. Okay? A serous membrane is a membrane that is not connected to the outside world. Whereas, the mucous membrane is one that is connected. Hala. Such as our GI tract, our respiratory tract, our urinary tract, our reproductive tract. They have either an exit or an entrance to the outside world. Whereas our serous membrane, class, it is deep inside our thorax. Okay? Pseudomembrane, we have not discussed that yet. Okay? Ang tunic, class, it is not a membrane. It is a layer. Hala. Okay. What do you call the maximum amount of or value of pressure during a ventricular contractions, class? It is systolic. Mao ni siya ang katong 120. Okay? Whereas our diastolic, mao ni siya ang katong 80. Okay? Diastolic is the one that is the minimum amount of pressure after the ventricular contraction. Okay? Pulse pressure is the difference between systolic and diastolic. So, for example, atong systolic is 120, ang atong diastolic is 80, ang atong difference, nila, class, is 40. So, ang atong pulse pressure is 40. Okay? Which of the following is most likely to be an elastic artery? Now, if you remember, class, the definition of an elastic artery is an artery that can stretch when there is pressure. Okay? kanang maka-stretch siya with pressure. Now class, the answer there is your aorta. Diba your aorta, it is directly connected to your left ventricle. Each time the left ventricle pumps, class, it will force blood towards your towards your aorta. When the blood is flowing through your aorta, it will increase the pressure in the aorta. The aorta will compensate by stretching itself para dili siya mo buto. Okay? Next is, what are the symptoms of diabetes mellitus? The 3 P's, as I've said, is polydipsia, polyuria, polyphagia. This one does not exist. These two are wrong spelling. Allah. Okay. Somatostatin is secreted by which cells of the islets of Langerhans? The islet of Langerhans, if you remember correctly, these are the endocrine cells of the pancreas. Okay? Okay. Our alpha cells, class, if you remember, they will secrete glucagon. Our beta cells, they will secrete insulin. Our theta cells, they do not exist in the islets of Langerhans. And our delta cells, class, they are the ones that will secrete somatostatin. Okay? Somatostatin. Which are the functions of oxytocin? Select all that apply. The functions of oxytocin are milk release or milk letdown. Pwede rin na siya tawag na letdown. And increased uterine contractions. Milk production is the function of the hormone prolactin. It is the function of prolactin. While decreasing uterine contractions is a what? It is not a function of any hormone. Okay? The target cells in the adrenal cortex respond to ACTH. ACTH, gani, it is our adrenocorticotropic hormone. When we say our ACTH, class, from the name adrenocortico, it will stimulate the adrenal cortex. Atong ADH, class, is antidiuretic hormone. Ang iyang target its target is if you remember correctly, the kidneys. Our prolactin, it will target the mammary glands. Okay? Our LH, it will target your gonads. Okay? And our TSH, or thyroid stimulating hormone, it will target our thyroid. Malamang. Hala, nabuang na ni. Okay. The adrenal medulla is blank. Select all that apply. Class, it is stimulated by SNS nerves. Okay? It is stimulated by your SNS nerves. Aside from that, class, it also produces epinephrine and norepinephrine. It does not produce cortisol. Cortisol is a hormone of your adrenal cortex. Class, your adrenal medulla is stimulated when a person feels excited, di ba? If you are excited, class, you will feel very very sympathetic like, okay? Mura ka og na ay increase in sympathetic nerve response. Okay? And aside from that, class, no, your adrenal medulla will produce the fight or flight response, courtesy of your epinephrine and norepinephrine, because those two hormones, it will stimulate SNS response. Muna function sa epinephrine and norepinephrine. Okay, which substance promotes cell division in lymphocytes? Class, it cannot be interleukin-1 because it is inactive. Okay? It cannot be CD4 because CD4 is the one that will trigger IL-2 or IL-1 release. Okay? CD8 dili pa na siya relevant. Okay? So, it has to be interleukin 2. Which part of the antibody can activate complete cascades, complement cascades? Okay? Class, it is our constant region. The end region, class, it does not exist. The starting region does not exist. There are only two regions in our antibody. Our variable and the constant. The variable, class, is kini siyang mura og y. Okay? Kini siya dapit. This is the one where antigens will stick or be displayed. Okay? Now, class, that is what gives an antibody its specificity. Because let's say, for example, class, there are two antibodies. Okay? Na duha ka antibody kana sa duha. This one, let's say, for example, is dengue. Dengue, whereas this one is COVID. Now, class, can the dengue go to this other antibody and can the COVID go to another? No, they cannot. Okay? If, let's say, for example, if an antigen is here, if an antigen is found at the variable region or the topmost region of the antibody, it is now considered its specific antigen. Iyaha kaugalingong antigen. Whereas, class, the constant region, or the one in the bottom of the antibody, it is the one that will activate your complement cascades and attach to other cells so that the antigen will be destroyed. Okay. What type of acquired immunity is it when antibodies are shared by the mother to her child through breast milk? Okay, class. When we say, class, active, sulti ganito active, class, it means antibodies needs to be produced. Padung pa i-produce ang antibody. Whereas, class, when we say passive, antibodies are already present. Now, class, if you read the question correctly, class, antibodies are already present in the mother. Ang mother, class, she already has her antibodies. She is just sharing it to the child. So, there is no need to create. So, kana siya, class, it will narrow down your choices to 2. Because there is no need to create, it is not considered active. Now, class, this is not artificial because this is a natural thing. Breastfeeding is a natural event. Now, class, next is your immunoglobulins. Which immunoglobulin is secreted into saliva and tears and is found in the breast milk? That is what you call our immunoglobulin A. Your immunoglobulin G is the one that is specifically capable of crossing the placenta. Your immunoglobulin M, if you have read, your immunoglobulin M is usually the first responding antibody. Whereas your immunoglobulin E, class, it is most commonly associated with allergies. Okay? Okay. Substances that signal their neighboring cells that a certain cell is infected. Class, it is not an antibody, nor is it an antigen. Ang atong pyrogens, class, these are the ones that will promote fever. It cannot be antibodies because antibodies, although they help, they will not signal. They will not signal their neighboring cells. Dili na nila buhaton. Antigens class, these are the substances that can cause an infection. Maka-cause this like infection. Okay? Whereas our interferons class, if you remember, they are the ones that will send a get, help, or save yourself signal. Okay? If you remember that from our discussion. The digestive enzyme that begins carbohydrate digestion. Carbohydrate digestion class, if you remember, it will begin in your oral cavity with amylase. So our salivary amylase. Pepsin does not do carbohydrate digestion. Instead, it will digest proteins. Pancreatic amylase occurs later in our small intestine, whereas hydrochloric acid will be the one that will increase, that will increase the acidity of your stomach. Where is the cardiac sphincter located? The cardiac sphincter class is located in your esophagus. Okay? Not in the stomach. Naay ni answer og stomach. Kago yan. Daghan. It is not in the stomach class. Because if you remember correctly, another name for your cardiac sphincter is your lower esophageal sphincter. Okay? This will be the structure that will regulate food entering the stomach. Okay? Your cardiac sphincter is another name for your lower esophageal sphincter, which will be the one to regulate food entering the stomach. Next class is the 4 layers of the digestive wall. As I've said, no, the innermost layer is the mucosa. So you can cross this off. And class, if you remember class, the outermost layer is your serosa. Okay? So you can cross this off, leaving us with this. Class, look at what I did. That is what you call deduction. I deduced. Okay? Even if dili ko kabalo ani nilang duha, I can deduce that the first layer is the mucosa and the last is the serosa, and nothing else fits the one. No other choices fits the description. Okay, so goblet cells class mo ni siya ang correct answer. Our absorptive cells class, if you remember, they are the ones that will secrete digestive enzymes. Okay? Digestive enzymes. Digestive enzymes. Whereas our endocrine cells class, they are the ones that will secrete hormones. Diba? Hormones. Our granular cells class, if you remember, they are the ones that will secrete unsa man. Nasaag sad ko. Yawa. Basta din na ba? The blank carries blood that is rich in oxygen to the liver. Now, di ba oxygen is siya? It cannot be veins. Because number one, your veins carry unoxygenated blood. Okay? Unoxygenated blood. When we say unoxygenated blood, muna siya ang veins. Except your pulmonary veins. Your pulmonary veins are the only veins that will carry oxygenated blood. Whereas here, class, your hepatic artery is the main vessel that will carry blood to the liver. Your arcuate artery class, it will branch off from the hepatic artery. Which of these are phagocytizing cells? Okay, phagocytizing gani, it is our neutrophils and eosinophils. Our neutrophils and macrophages. Our eosinophils and mast cells class, these are what we call cells of inflammation. Okay, correct.